Hi, Renee. I'm Shane. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And what a great documentary. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I'm glad people are enjoying it. That's good to hear.
It's interesting. I thought it was informative. I learnt a few things and it made me think. Uh, you're definitely happy how you're portrayed throughout and you got to say everything you wanted to say during it.
Yes, definitely. I think seeing it finally and understanding why we did things and now watching it all back and seeing how it makes sense and how it told the story properly. I was really happy with how everything came. There's nothing I would have added. There's nothing I would have taken away. I think it really told my story in the time frames of things that happened along the way, and it tells my story really well in detail, and having the other people coming in and sharing their side as well. I
Yeah.
think it's a really, really good thought out documentary, and I'm very happy with how it came across.
Did you have anyone who didn't want to appear or everyone who was asked, were they happy to talk and come on the camera?
Yeah, the girls spoke to a lot of people. Obviously, Sam and Francis,
Yeah.
who directed, they did contact. I couldn't tell you how many people they actually contacted, and I think that they tried to just make sure it was people who were close to me and a part of my story. Some people I know were away, were busy, had things on, and there was a few people who were reached out to, but unfortunately chose not to come on.
Oh, okay. Well, things happen. You might make a sequel and then they can come back.
Yeah, maybe they might want to come back on.
Well, tell me before, if anyone hasn't seen the documentary as yet, while they listen or see this interview, can you tell me why you were so interested in car racing from the beginning and what was it that appealed to you when you were a little girl?
Yeah, I think I just had a real love for adrenaline, for going fast and being competitive. I think
Yeah.
those were the main things. I loved racing. I loved racing myself. I loved improving myself. I loved being better every time I went on track. I loved beating people. I loved the art and how you had to always be your best and improve, and the challenges of being fast and being on track with other people, and how difficult and challenging it really is. And that
Yeah.
was just addictive. Obviously, the adrenaline and the rush, and when you're running into each other and you're banging panels, and that is really addictive. And even watching it before I even started go-karting, watching it was just like, oh my God, I have to do this. And I think for me, it was something that I was drawn towards bettering myself, doing the best that I could do, and just going as fast as possible. It was just something that I was drawn to.
And was it always just go-karting or was it motorbikes or skydiving and surfing? Anything else that you really got the adrenaline from?
Definitely not skydiving. I'm petrified of heights, so
So am
you won't
I.
catch me.
So am
You
I.
won't catch me jumping out of a plane, let me tell you. But
Nah.
I did do horse riding, so I loved
Okay.
riding horses. I did show jumping and cross country, and I loved riding horses. And I think that that probably for me was my excuse to get into go karts. And I've said this before. I think I remember thinking when I was a kid. I remember in my head going, oh, well, I can swap one horse for 45 horses because I get 45 horsepower. Like, why would I not have 45 horses instead of one? Like, that was in my brain. I can go so much faster with a go kart than I can with a horse. So I think I already had that, the adrenaline of show jumping. And, my mum hated it because it was so dangerous.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
it was just terrifying, a little girl on this massive horse jumping over jumps taller than her. So I think it was, yeah, just that adrenaline of horse riding. I could find this new thing, which was go karting, which I thought was 10 times more addictive.
Oh, for sure. Was entering the professional racing a struggle at the start? Did you get people knocking you back or not taking you seriously?
Yes, absolutely. It was really difficult getting into motorsport in general, even as a young female in go-karting, and then going up through the ranks, through everything else that I raced. I think being young was difficult. Being so young, it's really tough. And I think being a female is also quite tough as well. I also have no ties or connections to motorsport. Motorsport's a very It's a man sport, but it's all about who you know and what you know. And
Right.
I had my dad was not in motorsport. We were not a motorsport family. We knew nothing and we knew no one, which also made it a lot harder as well. So yeah, we were really green going into it, that's for sure. We didn't know anybody. I was a young female trying to get in. It
Yeah.
was it was very difficult. At every corner we turned, there was something that would just make everything challenging.
Did anyone give you some advice or pull you aside and help you out that really made you just not give up?
I think that was me. My passion was always there. I had many people tell me that I should give up. I had
Really?
lots of people along the way tell me that I should give up and just "You don't worry about it. She's a girl. It's too hard. You're wasting your
Really?
money. You're wasting your time." My manager, who was managing me at the time, was definitely someone who encouraged me and supported me in the early stages of my career,
Yeah.
purely just because I had no one else to talk to. I didn't know anyone. We had lots of conversations and my drive and passion was there, and I think he definitely helped me keep feeding that, and that sort of kept me going, especially for as long as it did, because there was many times towards the end when I
Mm.
eventually left. There was many times where I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. It just got harder and harder and harder. So yeah, I think I had a very small circle, and I'm just probably lucky enough that my passion was strong enough that I just kept going for as long as I could.
Do you think over your time there that it's changed and it progressed into more females and more acceptance, or is it still just a man's world?
It's still very much so a man's world, but
Mm.
I do think from being away for 6 years, 7 years that I had off,
Yeah.
I've been to a few different events now. I've been to go-kart tracks. I've been to lower class level tracks
Yeah.
where it's, club level events. And I do think that there are more women involved, mechanics, officials, volunteers, organizers, event holders. I
Okay.
can see that there's a shift and I can see that there's definitely more women involved, but I still think they probably go through similar things as what I go through. I just feel like it's still quite tough for us. I just think that they're slowly coming up in numbers, which is great and amazing. But I have no doubt that it's still very much so how it is. And I think people will just always have that perception of,
Oh, yeah.
oh, she's a girl. What's she doing here? Like, she can't do this. Or why does she want to be a mechanic? She's a female. Or why does she want to drive? She's a girl. It's just such an embedded thing in people's brains in motorsport, unfortunately. But I can definitely see that there's numbers in the women coming together on track, and you can
Good.
definitely see how many there are on in every aspect, not just in the cars racing, but across all levels.
The documentary is called Renee Gracie Fireproof. Did you choose the name, or how did the name of it come about?
I didn't choose the name, and I actually didn't know it was called Fireproof until not that long ago, actually. So that was kept under
Ah,
wraps. I think talking to the girls, they were really had a few names that they wanted to pick from what
okay.
they told me, but I think Fireproof is obviously something that when they told me, I'm like, makes complete sense, because I honestly could have burnt down and blew up in flames so many times. But I was resilient and I kept going. And obviously, my return and everything that happened to me, I think the fireproof just shows the resilience and also the connection to motorsport being fireproof. And yeah, I think it's a really, really cool name, and it really just explains me. I'm bloody fireproof. I've made it this far and I haven't caught on fire just yet. And I've had many excuses and good reasons where I could have, but I just haven't managed to do it yet.
Oh, I'm stoked to hear that. You haven't self-combusted yet. That's
Yes,
good.
yeah, yeah. And I had plenty of excuses and opportunities, that's for sure.
You mentioned the girls a few times, as you call them, Francis and Sam. I'm assuming that they approached you many years ago or some time ago to do this, and were you happy to do it from the beginning, or did you have to think about it?
Yeah, so Cody emailed me. We were talking about this the other day. 2021 was her first email to me. So that's how
That's a
long
long time
all of this.
ago.
Yeah, yep. And that's when my motorsport journey return started. That's how long it took me to get back into motorsport. So
Right.
it's insane to think about that it took me until 2023 to actually pull it off, because it was just so hard. No one wanted anything to do with me. It was really tough. They could see that, and they said, "Hey, look, we want to share your story, and we want to make a documentary about you. Would this be something that you're interested in?" And it was funny because in that current time, I was really struggling getting back into racing. No one was taking me seriously. No one was answering my phone calls. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. And it was
Right.
just, oh, so perfect, because now's the time to tell my story. And even if I don't return to motorsport, I can share this side of the story of how hard it is to get back into it, when it shouldn't be hard at all. I should just be able to buy a car, approach a team, pay the
Yeah.
bills, and go racing no matter what. If I sponsor, if I'm fully sponsored, if I have sponsors, it shouldn't matter. And I think for me, it was just more, I was really in that moment of, this is the stuff that needs to get told, because no one knows how many phone calls I'm making, and how upset and how frustrated I am behind the scenes. And when the opportunity came, it was just, couldn't have been a better timing from me wanting to return back to racing and actually share the story of how difficult it is and how difficult it shouldn't be. But in saying that, I think the girls didn't realize what exactly I went through and what exactly I was going through. And I
Right.
know from talking to them and knowing what they've been through making the documentary about me, the documentary has pivoted a few times, because there's been so many things that, when you know as much as you can from Google and searching, but obviously once we started living through things and I was telling them more, I think they were really shocked about how difficult things are and things were for me in my past career.
So it sounds like behind the scenes, you just nearly threw it all in and packed it in, and just didn't want to do anything anymore. Give
Yeah, it's
up.
just, yeah, it was just so hard, when you leave something that you love. And the reasons why I left motorsport in the beginning was because I got burnt out of how I was being treated, and
Yeah.
I went down that journey. And I always said, if I was to return to motorsport, I'd be in control. I'd never let anybody treat me like that. I would make sure that I'm in the best environment and I'm happy. And then I
Good.
start to get back into motorsport again, and I'm getting treated the same, and all this same stuff's happening, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, maybe it's just not meant to be. So they got that glimpse of when they were talking to me, and, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Who have you called? You know what, you're racing." And I'm like, well, this is what's happening. Like, I can't get there yet. Like, it's not happening. So yeah, it was really tough. But once again, I just am a bit stubborn, I think, is more more my thought process is, I just don't give up.
That's good. I'm really stoked to hear that. And they've made a terrific documentary about you. But do you think you'd go another step further? Have you got enough stories and things to tell that you could make a movie about your life or write a book?
I have been asked about a book, and it's funny now. I've met a lot of people who have seen the documentary already. I have so many people asking me if there's a sequel coming, and I'm like, "Oh, is there a sequel? Like, was it that entertaining? You want to see more? Because I'm sure there will be more to come." My life's absolutely crazy sometimes, but yeah, I have been approached to do books and stuff previously already. I'm
Yeah.
not a book reader, and the thought of writing a book sounds like hard work. So I feel like that's something that I have to be fully committed to. And I think a book for me would be very interesting, because I would make it very juicy, but I would really wait until I'm done. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
my life is just keep going to keep evolving, and I don't feel like this is the end of my story just yet. And I feel
Yeah.
like a book is something that I want to do when it's the end of my story and all the chaos has stopped, and I can reflect on it over a big book.
Well, as a journalist, just take notes. Even if you don't read or write, take like a diary or notes and just throw them into a box, all your experiences, and that time, they'll add up over time, and there's your sequel eventually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Somehow I don't think it'd take long.
Do you have a routine when you were racing? Did you have a routine before you got in the car, or did you go through anything in your head every time to get you in the headspace, or did you just like go for it, no routines?
I tried not to be superstitious. That's
Mm,
something that I've had mixed reviews when you talk to other drivers and stuff, and it was something I decided to try not do. I
right.
didn't when I previously raced. I didn't have time. I was so busy. I would get thrusted into interviews, like I'm getting ready to
Yeah.
race, and I've got a microphone in my helmet, and I've got all this stuff. So I really didn't have time. This
Yeah.
time round, I have a pretty firm rule now that an hour before a race. silence. No interviews, don't talk to me. I don't need to have a microphone shoved in my face. I don't need to be doing a live TV cross. I'm here to race. And that's what took away from, I think, my results in my career in the beginning was it was so much to do with media and so little about racing, where
Yeah.
I'm reversing it now. Now I'm in control. I'm like, hey, I'm racing, radio silence an hour before. If you want to do an interview, you have to come back. I get dad to sort it all out. If someone tries to call me, if someone wants to talk to me, it's, well, this is when she's available and you can't talk to her before or after that.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. Like, I'm glad that you do that because you don't want to be distracted. That's a pretty serious thing you were doing.
Oh, and
Yeah.
it was constant. It was for all the years that I raced, it was all the time. And I couldn't say no because then people thought I was stuck up or they thought I was rude. And it was a really stressful,
Yeah.
hard time. And it was a really difficult thing. But now I'm not stuck up and it's nothing to do with that. It's actually focusing on myself and to be the best driver that I can be. Unfortunately, you can't talk to me within my hour before because I've got things to do, and that's race a car.
Yep, fair enough. What about injuries? Have you ever had anything that's been pretty bad and almost stopped your career, or nothing major?
No, I've been pretty lucky. No injuries from crashing. I've had no major incidents where I've been injured from racing.
Good.
I've
Yeah.
had niggling shoulder issues. I think that's something that I've always had from a young age, and I think that comes from go-karting and just over time I've got shoulder and neck issues and not
Sure.
wearing neck braces and being in big crashes and having kids drive over the top of me with go-karts and stuff. So small niggling things, but nothing major, and I'm very grateful.
Ever thought of maybe racing overseas outside of Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think that's probably one of the last bucket list things for me. I think after all of this, I've really ticked
Yeah.
so many boxes and I'm really so blessed and grateful of my path and my journey. And I think that would really just be the nice cherry on top of everything. I think
Yeah.
just to tick off one overseas race would be a really nice, a good sweetener to end it.
Well, I hope it happens for you. That's for sure. It might
Thank
one
you.
day.
One day, hopefully.
What about acting or any kind of artistic endeavors? Can you act? Can you sing? Are you any good, like, musically playing instruments?
Don't ask me to sing, but Sam and Francis really, I did some acting. They made me have to do some really good acting when I was doing the documentary because I had to
Right.
reenact some phone calls that I had had, and I had to reenact a few things.
Yep.
And that was interesting because I'm not a very serious person. I'm quite just, like fun and whatever. And so when they were sort of saying, oh, you need to reenact that phone call that you told us about, but you have to be serious doing it. I'm like, oh, I'm not a serious person. I'm like, so I really had to push myself. And I feel like that was my acting career. I'm not overly confident about, to be honest. I feel like I was sort of pushed to my limits with what I had to do for the documentary. But I would really love to do, I love talking and I love being on podcasts and doing interviews
Yeah.
and I love meeting people. I would love to do like a hosting
Oh, yeah.
or just to do something really cool, whether it's doing stuff in motorsport and talking to other drivers and interviewing people. There's really
Yeah.
fascinating, amazing people in motorsport. I talk to them by myself one on one if I meet someone and then they've got a really cool story or whatever I learn about them. But it would be really cool to share other people's stories. So yeah, hosting or interviewing and stuff like that, I really enjoy and I love chatting and meeting new people, and I can talk for hours if I had to.
Well, you definitely like talking, which is a good
Yeah,
thing.
I'm a chatter.
And I think you are being serious in our chat today. You're taking it seriously. You're not going off, into any craziness or anything. So I think you can be serious when you want to be.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not like prim and proper serious though. I'm a bit I'm fun serious. I don't know. I'm not super, you couldn't put me in a boardroom and not like try and crack a joke or something, I think.
Sure. Well, before we wrap it up, tell me what you do outside of racing and outside of the limelight. Like, if you're away from the camera or microphones, do you go to the beach? What do you do? Like, anything in particular you do to let your hair down? Do you still ride a horse?
No, I don't do horse riding anymore, mainly because with all of my work and even with OnlyFans and stuff, I don't make money if I've got a broken arm or a broken wrist or if I'm injured, unfortunately. So that's
Sure.
something that
Yeah.
I really try to make sure that I'm always sort of fit and healthy, especially now that I'm racing again. Most of the time, the last, honestly, 3 years, 4 years of my life have been so insane. I travel a lot for work, so I get away a lot and I travel a lot for my OnlyFans side of things. So when I am home, I'm literally home with the dogs, in the pool, with the chickens. Like, I'm not
Nice.
doing much. I really try and relax because I feel like I'm very lucky and fortunate to, when I am out and I am working, I'm still traveling and I get to see things, and I've done a lot in my lifetimes. When I
Yeah.
have a day just to do absolutely nothing, I will do absolutely nothing, and I'll do it from the comfort of my couch, and I'll sit on my couch and binge watch Netflix all day, or Stan all day, or I'll watch all motorsport races. I'll rewatch the Formula One. I'll just literally binge on something for hours and just mind numbingly log out and pretend that the world doesn't exist for just a good day.
Sounds like me when I'm not working. I'm either doing that or at the beach. Same
Yeah.
thing.
I just
Um,
need something that I can focus my time on for a couple of hours, and it's almost like a reset. And then the next day I'm good to go, and everything's okay.
well, you can't binge Netflix as much anymore. You got to binge Stan because that's what the
Yeah,
documentary's on.
I know. I'll be binging my documentary a lot. I want to rewatch it a whole bunch of times to see, when you watch something so
Oh yeah,
much,
yeah.
that's going to be me. I'm going to literally, everyone's going to be sick of me because I'll be like, I'm watching my documentary again. I'm watching my documentary again. And then I know Yellowstone's coming out soon too, so I can't wait to watch that.
Well, as a movie analyst, I was analyzing your documentary and was watching all facets of it, behind the scenes and how it was made, and I really enjoyed it. Like I said, if if you were to describe it in your own words and why people should watch it, how would you describe it if you were trying to sell it for people who were maybe scrolling through and going, "Oh, will I or won't I watch this?"
Oh, good question. I would say it's a movie or a film or a documentary where I think passion,
Yeah,
ambition, and drive is the forefront. And I think one thing is, just because you think you know someone, or just because you think you know something, doesn't necessarily mean you know the full story or you know the real story.
yeah.
I
And you
think is
don't
how
need
I
to
would do
know
it.
about car racing to enjoy it.
Yes, yep. How would you sell it? You tell me how you would sell it.
I would sell it to people who wanted to know, to be inspired, to wanted to know about something that's a little bit outside the box, because your story is open, you're an open book. And I also think it's extraordinary what you've done. It's all about the strive. You had people were knocking you back left, right, and center, but you did what you wanted to do, and it's still doing it. So I would tell people to watch it. Yeah,
Awesome.
just for the sake of being glued to your positivity.
Oh, thank you. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good to hear. Thank you.
And finally, what about business sense of things? I think you could do like a line of motorsport. Uh, I don't know, maybe a fashion, something you could wear in the car, some kind of like perfume, some hair ties to get your hair back before you put the helmet on. What do you think? Any kind of ideas like that?
I do. I've dabbled in a little of my own merchandise and sold
Yeah,
my own stuff. I know that motorsport industry is really big on merchandise and
yeah,
collectibles and all of that sort of stuff, which I think is really cool. I would love to do stuff like that. I've potentially thought about doing my own motorsport specific clothing brand, and
yeah. That's what
I've
I'm
had a
getting
few
at. You
I've had a
should.
few ideas ticking away in the background. But yeah, I feel like when I think about something, I'm a bit of a slow burn. When I have an idea, I really think about it. I make sure it's the right decision. I make sure I can handle it, because that's a whole nother thing, is sometimes I'm very time poor. And I
Oh,
think
okay.
I tick away at ideas, but when I'm ready to make the decision, I'll make the decision. So I've got a few things always ticking away in the back of my brain. I'm always thinking about doing new, fun, and exciting things. So who knows?
Well, I hope we cross paths. Good luck with all the response that you know you're going to get on Stan once this is released. And I really
Thank you.
appreciate your time, Renee. It's lovely to meet you.
No worries. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Good luck in everything.
Thanks, Shane.
See
Bye.
ya.